This is NEVERZERO on iOS and this is NEVERZERO on Android. I don't know Kotlin. I never built an Android app with Kotlin, and yet it took me only 5 prompts to get it done and working. I'm going to show you the 5 prompts that I used to port my iOS app to Android, word for word, no edits. It's just those 5 prompts. But this video is honestly not about prompts. It's about something that I've realized midway. When the app was broken, the widgets weren't working, and I had tried everything. Programming is no longer the skill you need. Reasoning, explaining yourself clearly, those are the skills that you need nowadays. I'm Hanoch and I build systems so you don't have to be a copy-paste human. And today I'm going to show you how it looks when it's actually getting hard. So let's get into it. So let's get right into the prompts that I've used to move my iOS app into Android. Usually this would obviously be quite complicated because it's not just a copy-paste. There are different programming languages, there are different systems, there are different UI elements and everything. So this is by no means a simple copy and paste transition. And so I don't have to pay another programmer that actually knows Android or spend weeks or months learning it for myself. I thought, why not use AI? That's what it's there for. So let me go right in. I'll show you the very first prompt that I used to start this project. And it's actually not at all about Android. It was about making a clear documentation of what I have right now on iOS. So before I touch any line of Kotlin so far, Kotlin, by the way, is the language that is used for Android applications. Before I touch any of those lines, I need to capture what already exists. I need to capture every feature, every screen, every widget behavior, the look, the feel, the logic, everything. So I gave the AI one clear goal, which was understand this app so completely that a senior Android developer could recreate this full app with 0 questions. So here's the exact prompt that I used. Please create a full and comprehensive summary of what this project does, what it uses, and how it achieves what it does. Note down the details very well, the look and feel, the way it functions, the features it has. Absolutely every detail should be contained in this project brief. Write it in a way that I could take this and give it to a senior Android Kotlin developer who would be perfectly capable of recreating this exact same app with all its features, the widgets as well, but for the Android system. And that's it. No technical jargon from me, no technical decisions, and no architecture decisions. I just explained what I wanted as I would to a constructor. The output was a detailed markdown file, project brief. Every screen was documented, every interaction, widget behavior included. And that file became the foundation for everything that came afterwards. Prompt 2 was the actual migration to Android. I created a new project on Android Studio, complete blank slate, and I just copy and pasted in that project brief that we created so that it is in the same project folder. And here's what I said. Please take the project brief and use it to recreate this iOS app but in Android Kotlin. It should ideally be as close to the original as possible, just written for Android. Make sure the full feature set is implemented, all screens, all functions, all widgets as well. Everything. 1 sentence of actual instructions. And here's actually the part that really surprised me when it finished after maybe 10 minutes of programming like crazy. It actually worked. So obviously not completely perfect, but the app ran, the screens were there, the habits loaded, the core logic was intact, the main app was completely functional. In one prompt, I had a fully working, functional Android app that I could have definitely not written myself within the next 3 to 6 months. So I said there was only one problem, the widgets. They were the only thing that were a bit more tricky and that were not working directly out of the box. Obviously we couldn't have everything right away, that would have been too easy. To fix now the widget, here's now prompt 3. And just to let it sink in, this is actually the 3rd prompt that I gave it. Not the 6th or the 10th or the 20th. It was really the 3rd prompt that I gave it. First one, get the documentation. Second one, to migrate. Third one, to fix it. So let's see. Amazing. It works almost perfectly already. The main thing I noticed is that the widget is not updating. It does always say yes. Also, I can't decide which habit is shown on the small tracker widget. So basically I had two problems which I stated to the AI. I had the problem that the widget was not actually updating when I tapped it. It was updating the app inside, so when I said I completed the habit, it actually updated it in the app itself, but it didn't update the widget. And second, I was not able to select which habit I wanted to be tracked for that specific widget, for example. So those two things I gave it to the AI and just hoped it would work. And just so you realize, I just did that. I didn't know what the actual problem was. I didn't know about glance, which later I figured out was the actual problem. I didn't know about any of the elements that had anything to do with this. I just gave it this. And in the end, if you think about it, this is actually what you would have done to a human developer as well. If someone was writing the app for you and then they came back to you saying it's done, you would revise it and you would see, oh, actually this is wrong, this I don't like, please add this, please change this, and so on. So basically, I treated it as my personal Android developer. So the AI understood it, but unfortunately, it didn't fix it. Well, kind of. It fixed one of the problems, the problem that I couldn't select the habit that I wanted. This was fixed. So we only had one issue left. And I want to be really honest with you what happened next. Because it wasn't clean at all. It wasn't just another prompt. It was actually quite a long process where I gave the AI the feedback. It tried to fix it. It didn't fix it. I tried again. It didn't fix it. I tried again. I didn't fix it. And so on. I tried a bunch of different things in the end. And it was really not a simple process. It could have been. Now that I know what the actual problem was, I know that next time, if I would have a next time, I could probably actually do it in one try or two. But this is obviously learnings that you get from trying things out. I read the actual Android documentation for a bit, where people had similar issues. I looked through the internet, asked a bunch of different AIs. I fed them everything that I found, thinking maybe that's the solution. So I copied and pasted what I found and gave it to them to see if they could make sense of it. I tried a bunch of things, and I do honestly think the issue was not that what I pasted was wrong, or that what I figured out was wrong, or what it tried was wrong. It actually was a completely different issue that was way somewhere else, that was messing up with this for some reason. And it was just iterations or different kind of prompting that made the AI identify this issue and actually fixed it by itself without me actually doing much. I had to ask myself, was it the AI that was the bottleneck, or was it me? What was the actual problem? Obviously it was me. I wasn't giving it enough. I should have given it way more information. I should have given it the actual problem. I should have figured out where the logs are, because this was actually a problem as well. Basically, I was a bit working with my hand tied to the bag. You can imagine this was a bit of a miss there. Let's go to an example prompt, the fourth prompt in this video. Let me show you what I did to try and fix it. I basically gave it a bunch of forum posts, a bunch of other articles that I found, and so on. Copied and pasted them into the prompt itself, and then just asked, do you think this could help us? It actually gave me a kind of diagnosis, which then helped me to understand what the problem might be. There was nothing set up that would tell the widget to look for updates. So you could click on it, it would update something, but it wouldn't update itself, which sounds super simple, obviously, and that's what is a bit annoying about having spent so much time on this issue. The database updated, but the widget just sat there waiting for a signal that would never come. But this obviously still didn't fix it. It just figured out a bit where the issue might be around. At this stage, I tried a bunch of different AIs. I tried Cursor, which is the one that I started with. I went over to Cloud Code because it's usually a bit stronger. I went then over to just prompting Gemini outside of the project to just see what we could do. And then I went over to Anti-Gravity, which is directly from Google. So I was like, maybe, since Android is from Google, Anti-Gravity would know more about this. I'm quite confident that the issue was neither of them. I could have fix this with either of them. It is just that the context was missing and we didn't get to the point where it actually was failing. So we got to the stage where it actually updated the widget, but it didn't update it the way I wanted it. Then I did the same thing. I went to the internet, found a bunch of stuff, and then I just pasted in the 5th prompt that I want to show you. Now it says no habits, anything here that might help. And then I pasted everything that I found on the internet. And for some reason, it decided to actually look at the code that we were trying to fix from a wider perspective. It looked at the full context that was around that widget, and then it found the actual issue. And basically it was quite simple. The widget was never actually broken. It was just never initialized in the first place. The only thing missing was now that when the app booted for the first time, we needed something to tell the widget to start looking for habits. Because now the whole updating, the widget now updates properly, just nothing told it to look for habits to begin with. So this was actually the final thing that made it work. For some reason, it then found out that this search for habits was not being triggered, and therefore it said no habits. After that fix, everything worked and the full app was now functional. And as usual, when you get something fixed that was broken for a long time, as soon as something finally works, after iterating, basically saying the same thing, and you feel like you're going in circles with AI, after all that, the best feeling of all is when you finally click the habit and it updates the app and the habit itself. It's so good. In the end, it was really, really simple. I guess anyone could have done it. It's just prompting it right. And so here's what I want you to take from this. At no point in all of this build, I did write a single line of Kotlin. At no point I did understand pending intent or glance session life cycles. But nonetheless, the app now fully works and I have an Android app that I could theoretically just upload to the Play Store. But here's what I did do, and this is what I think everyone should do when they work with AI. I wrote a document so clear that the AI could read it as an actual developer. I described the problems the way any user would. I changed tools when one wasn't working, even though any of them could have made it. I fed context that I found useful from the internet into the conversation. So sometimes it's this balance of context, knowing where the problem should be around, and just trying to cooperate with AI instead of just letting it do everything, that actually makes this whole thing work. So basically, programming is no longer the skill you need. Reasoning is, and explaining yourself clearly and precisely, those are the skills. The AI knew how to fix all of those problems by itself. It had the knowledge. The bottleneck every time was me because I wasn't explaining myself well enough for it to apply that knowledge correctly in the place it was needed. What you need is to learn how to think out loud. Just put it in, think out loud to the AI. It will figure it out for you if it makes sense. If not, try it again, try it again, try it again. You will get better at it. How to be persistent without being repetitive. That's currently the skill, and that's one that a lot of people underestimate that we have. Now, I'm an automation engineer, okay? I've programmed a lot by hand myself. I've used a lot of AI myself, and I practice a lot every single day. So maybe you're thinking, okay, this doesn't apply to me. I'm not a developer, I'm not an AI specialist, I'm not anything of that. But it applies just as well to you. Because the people that were building all those things before, they needed 2 skills, domain knowledge and technical execution. Now, you only need 1. If you understand your problem deeply enough to explain it, and you're willing to stay in the conversation for long enough, you can build things that would have taken a team 6 months to build 3 years ago. The brief is the product now, and the prompt is the code. Does that mean that there are no limits now? I mean, kind of, but no. I still took quite some hours to get this fixed. But in the end, those couple of hours were way quicker, and they served me for the future to better prompt and explain for the next project, instead of wasting the time learning a new programming language or architecture or whatever. 5 prompts, one working Android app, no Kotlin. If you want to try this for yourself, NEVERZERO is now in the App Store, still only available through test flight. Soon we will have it for Android users as well. So anyone with an Android phone, be ready, it will come. The next video will be about the system that I actually use to track everything that I'm building, so nothing falls through the cracks when you're juggling an app, a job, and a YouTube channel, and a bunch of websites. I'm Henoch, and I'll see you in the next one. Please subscribe and give me some comments. Bye bye.